Welcome to the EOB podcast, where we talk about the weekend box office and the new openings this week. I'm Ben No, and joining me is Sen Duong. So, Sen, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. And how were our predictions?
Our predictions were pretty much way off.
All right. So, what did we have for Tomorrowland?
Yes, I mean, Tomorrowland, I had it on the higher end than you. I had it at around 25. You had it around 20.
Oh, I had it around 20. You said 25.
Yes.
Oh, okay, you're closer than me then.
But it's still off. It's still like, what, 15 or so million off?
Ah, right. Still underperforming.
It's still underperformed. Yeah, I mean, even though
Well, actually, wait. I guess it overperformed according to our expectations, but I guess if you base it on its budget, I'm surprised it's $190 million budget.
yeah, and you add in marketing and everything, it's probably over 200, right?
It's pretty crazy that. I mean, sure, Brad Bird's been very successful at Pixar and with Mission Impossible 3 or 4.
Ghost Protocol.
Yeah,
I forget what that one is. Yeah.
Yeah, Ghost Protocol. And even with George Clooney has never been a big opener though. I mean, he's kind of respected. He has a draw, but he never opens movies like huge. So I'm surprised that they gave him a $190 million budget. It made 32 million higher than what we expected, but based on this budget, it is kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, we had some estimates that says like round 37, and the one that we're going at right now, we're looking at is Rent Track. From Rent Track, normally we use Box Office Mojo, right? But they're not updating their numbers, so we're going with Rent Track. So, and they had it around 32. Even that, I mean, for a movie that's, but its budget is in the stratosphere, 100, 80, 90 million. They say that had to open above 50.
Yeah, you do. Even with a $50 million opening at that budget, it would have to be leggy. I mean, there are films like, the two G.I. Joes that open to or even the Green Lantern open to 50 million plus, but end up only making about 130, 140. So realistically, yeah, you would have to open to just to be safe, 60 or 70 million with a $190 million budget.
Yeah,
and this way below that.
Way below that, and even with the 4-day Memorial weekend, it's probably won't reach that. I mean, they say that it might only do 40. Over 4 days. So it's pretty much a bomb.
Unless
at least here, there's still hope overseas, and these types of movies, special effects, big budget spectacles, usually do better overseas. And
we'll see. So far, it doesn't look good.
Right. I think there's some numbers coming in from overseas for Tomorrowland as well.
It was around 26 million. It opened to 65 markets, but that doesn't include some of the bigger markets like in Asia, like China and Japan.
Right.
So but still, 26 million isn't great.
Right. I mean, we said in the previous podcast that we didn't really like or want to watch this movie because I don't feel a connection to the movie at all.
Yeah.
And maybe the other people are feeling the same way. Some try to explain that it's the marketing. They kept the plot to, they didn't reveal as much in the promos. So maybe that's what's keeping people away. You think that's right?
It could be, but it just didn't have that draw. It's not something that you watch and go, hey, I want to see it, or I want to take my kids to see it.
Yeah, and I read the reviews that even the special effects isn't that special.
Which is kind of surprising because Brad Bird did all those Pixar films, and animated features all kind of like a big special effects movie. So.
Right. But I also like to point out that Brad Bird's cred with the Mission Impossible movie, Ghost Protocol, led him to this movie.
Right.
Before it's like, oh, he's just an animation director. And now he leveraged that and to move on to a big budget. Probably not a good idea. The guy who directed Finding Nemo, who did John Carter.
Yeah.
Another big budget bomb, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's a good idea to move from animated to a big budget effects movie that has the potential to ruin your career. you know. Anyway, that's just a tangent that we're just going off on. So
Yeah, well, the thing with that is it goes either way, though. You have John Carter, which is a big time bomb, and then you have Mission Impossible 3 Ghost Protocol, which is a big time hit. Kind of rejuvenated the series. So I don't think it's a bad idea. It's just sometimes, no matter how good of a director you are, sometimes you have good movies and sometimes you make bad ones.
true.
And the reviews weren't that great too. The reviews, it's 50% at Rotten Tomatoes.
And a B cinema score, I believe.
Yeah, B cinema score is kind of bad because usually for family films they're pretty lenient. I've seen a lot of poorly reviewed family films getting A cinema score. So when it gets a B cinema score, that's kind of bad. That doesn't bode well for its for the following weeks.
Well, that's kind of the odd thing about Tomorrowland, marketed as a family film too. You don't see family in the movie. It's just like this lone girl, who went on to pretty much visit the wizard. It's kind of like a Yellow Brick Road, or what was that movie?
The Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz. It's kind of like that, and I guess people are not feeling it like us.
Yeah. Plus, I think the trailers feel a little bit cold. It felt kind of like the George Lucas Star Wars films, kind of cold and plasticky.
Yeah, and the characters, you really couldn't latch on to any of them, and say, hey, that's our avatar in the movie. So
yeah, so kind of Brad Pitt had a huge hit, and now he has a potential bomb, depending on how it does in the following weeks.
Right, and still, it could be saved overseas.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, in case we forget to mention that, it came in number 1 still with 32 million. So I believe this is like one of the weaker Memorial Day weekends.
Right.
I think it came in 12 or something like that in box office figures.
That's a little bit surprising to me because you look at the top 10 and the top 5 films gross above 20 million. So it's surprising to me that this is one of the weaker Memorial Day weekends.
Yeah, true. But usually the top movies, the couple 1, 2, and 3 usually pull higher.
Yeah, you usually have one big movie that grows like 70 million or 100 million. Right. Okay, let's move on.
Coming in at number 2 is Pitch Perfect 2. It made 30 million over the 3-day weekend. We're not counting day 4, which is today. So it's pretty much like a almost above 50% drop from the 69 million opening.
Yeah. And after 2 weeks, it's already made 118 million, which is already far beyond what the first film made.
And the budget is 30 million?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So it is already a humongous hit. We're seeing Pitch Perfect 3 or 4, and then the iPad Sky is going to appear pretty soon.
Oh, right. And then they're going to have their own individual movies, right? And then they'll come together for, Pitch Perfect, the age of whatever.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, so pretty much front-loaded, right? Very front-loaded. It came back, and even though in the second weekend, it's still pretty good, I believe. It's with the 30 million, for a comedy, for a sequel,
Yeah, it's doing really well.
Like you say, 4, 5, and 6 is in the works. Well, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3 is Mad Max Fury Road, coming in at 23.8 million in its second week as well.
Yeah.
And 87 million over 2 weeks.
And that's about less than a 50% drop off, which is not bad for an action movie.
Still, the same problem with Tomorrowland, right? It costs humongous money to make, like a lot. Was it like above 150?
It's 150. It costs 150 to make. And it doesn't look like it'll reach 150 domestically. Yeah, so we'll see if it can clean house overseas.
Yeah, I think it will, because action movie pretty much one big long chase and barely any dialogue, which is good.
Right. Yeah, which is great for the overseas market. Yeah. It's too bad that Box Office Mojo isn't updated. We can't see what the worldwide box office figure is so far.
It's okay. We'll just wing it.
Yeah.
I think it opened in China. Let me see. I think as of last weekend or whatever, when the last time it's updated, overseas is 65 million for Max Fury Road.
Yeah, which is pretty huge. So it looks like, hey, based on this overseas performance so far, it looks like it will end up doing pretty well worldwide. And let's also mention that it's one of the best reviewed movies out there, playing out there right now.
Oh yeah, what? Oh, nearly
98%
98%, which is I say
on Rotten
unheard.
Tomatoes.
Yes, unheard of. It's pretty much the first movie that I'm seeing that's an R-rated action movie. You know, Blessed and Guts really hard action, hardcore. You know, not a drama or anything that has over 90%.
Right,
And not
right, right.
cartoony.
Yeah, so it's kind of one of those movies that even though there are a bunch of action movies out there right now, it's one of the good ones or great ones.
Right, right. And also an interesting trivia, George Miller, the director, also directed Happy Feet.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Right. Okay, now we can move on to number 4, Poltergeist, the remake of the horror movie by Steven Spielberg. Made 23 million over the 3-day weekend.
What were we predicting? Was I going low? Was I going 10 million?
We both were going 10 to 15, so about that much.
So
it still performed a little bit better than than our predictions, but still.
Although I don't think Poltergeist was a very high budget film, right?
Because of the effects, I think it's still going to be in the maybe 30-40 million range.
Oh yeah, 30-40 million range isn't that bad. So at 23 million, it's it performed way better than we expected, and it's gonna probably make back its budget. So it's a decent success.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they were thinking with this Poltergeist remake. Were they thinking?
Me neither.
Were they thinking like they could build a brand, like a franchise out of this, or what? Or is this one-off? It looks kind of risky to me.
Well, they're thinking
Poltergeist.
Well, they're thinking Michael Bay. He remade all those horror films like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and each one of them opened up to like 30 or 40 million, and eventually grows like 100 million each.
Uh-huh.
Well, they're probably thinking Michael Bay that hey, they can remake some of these classics and have them make 100 million at the box office.
All right.
And this one doesn't look like it'll make 100 million, but it'll still be profitable.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure if I have anything to add to Poltergeist.
Let's move on to Avengers, the Age of Ultron. At number 5, it made 21 million over the weekend, and it crossed the 400 million barrier. Total is 404 million so far. It passed Furious 7 as the highest grossing film of the year so far. And it's still doing pretty well, although not nearly as well as the first film, which ended up making over, I think 620 million.
Mm-hmm.
I think internationally it's at I think the last time it was like at 1.2 billion.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's catching up to the first Avengers movie, and it's catching up to Furious 7's worldwide figure.
Right. As we know, Box Office Mojo hasn't updated the list yet, so we don't know what the current number are. But at this moment, when I'm checking right now, it's still at number 8.
The last time I read, I think Box Office Google has it at like 1.2 billion worldwide.
Yeah. So it's moving on up, and it will probably pass the first Avenger movie, maybe. So
right.
At the maybe part.
Yeah,
it's still hanging on because it's one of those big summer tentpoles, even though it's open in May. Mm-hmm. I think May 1st or something like that. So I think it's gonna keep on going until the next month.
Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about billions, 300 million doesn't sound like much, but when you think about it, 300 million is still a lot to make up.
It is.
But it could still get there. Yeah. Should we move on to number 6?
Yes, number 6 is Hot Pursuit, the Reese Witherspoon and Sofia Vergara comedy. It made 3.5 million over the weekend.
So far, it's made 29 million after this is its third week. Yeah. And I think that's about the budget, but still, you expect a Reese Witherspoon comedy to do better.
Yes, and I said the reason why it didn't make as much, I think it's because it's really an old school buddy comedy, and except that with women and people, or at least the target demographics, are going for something like Pitch Perfect.
Yeah, although I don't think there's anything wrong with that though, because it just depends on who's doing it. Because Melissa McCarthy's movies, like The Heat, they all like old school comedies, but it depends on who you put in there, and it depends on
true,
the script.
But Melissa McCarthy, she can drop F-bombs and whatever, right? So
yeah, but
that's the type of movie I think the younger kids are into.
Yeah, but yeah, well, that's what I'm saying with Hot Pursuit. Is it?
Mm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with making an old school comedy and putting women in them. I think it just depends on the script and the people involved.
No disagreement there.
Right. Should we move on to number seven?
Yeah, sure. Number seven is Far from the Maddening Crowd. I think it gained additional theaters and it made 2.3 million over the weekend. I think it stars the Carey Mulligan, the one who
Oh,
did The Great Gatsby with Leonardo DiCaprio.
okay. I guess that's not too bad.
Yeah,
Five.
it's based on a book, so
Okay.
it did as well as is to be expected.
Right.
It is an indie. It is based on a novel, and it
Mm.
is not the type of movie that would make a lot of money at the box office.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So,
Notice how after the top five movies which made over 20 million, from 6 to 10, we're talking in the single digit millions.
yeah, it's like lunch,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
like lunch. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, I guess we move on.
yeah. Number eight, Furious 7, with 2 million, and it's made a total of 347 million. And I think the worldwide figure is at 1.5 billion, which is pretty close to the first Avengers. I think the first Avengers made 1.52 billion.
Hmm.
So we'll see if Furious 7 can eke out another 20 million.
Yeah, and also to note that the Avengers made more than Fear 7 domestically.
Yeah, yeah, it made a lot more. Yeah, so Furious 7 actually made more at the foreign markets.
So far,
Yeah, so far, yeah.
because Fear 7 was released first, so it had a head start. So we'll
Oh,
see.
yeah, yeah. You were talking about Avengers 2. I thought you were talking about the first
Oh
Avengers.
yeah, yeah, Avengers 2, yeah,
Yeah,
made
yeah,
more
yeah.
right now domestic than Fear 7, and because
Right.
Fear 7 has a head start, its overseas figure is obviously larger than Age of Ultron, so
Yeah,
Ultron will probably catch up.
yeah, yeah. We'll see. It'll be interesting. Although it looks like Avengers will probably end up on top.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to number nine, Paul Blart, Mall Cop 2 at 1.8 million over the weekend.
Mhm.
And its total domestically is about 65.5 million, which, because Paul Blart 2 only has a budget of about 30 million, they're making a lot of money on this movie. The only thing is when you compare it to the first film, which made about 146 million, it's kind of disappointing.
Right, right. So what they need is Justin Lin to reboot.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah. They need either Justin Lin or Dwayne Johnson.
Right. Why not both?
Yeah, why not both? And call it, Furious 8.
Right, right. Okay, moving on.
Yeah,
At the 10th spot is Home, the DreamWorks animation
yeah.
with 1.7 million over the weekend, and it made 167 million so far.
We already spoken so much about it. That's
Right, right. We're getting right now. The movies are in the 1 million, 2 million range, which is really not significant.
yeah, yeah,
So that's like the indie level movie was what these the indie movies make. So first run.
right.
Also, number 11 is The Age of Adaline with 1.4 million, and 12 is Woman in Gold, and still hanging in there. So
Yeah. And Age of Adaline is nearly 40 million total, which I
mhm.
think is not bad for Lionsgate. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and Women in Gold just passed 30 million, which is great for the Weinstein Company.
Hmm.
Especially for indie film. And an indie film with only middling reviews on Rotten Tomatoes is only about 50%. And usually with indie films, a lot depends on the reviews. But hey, I guess Helen Mirren has enough of a draw to raise it above, reviews. I guess for the indie market, she's like Meryl Streep.
Right, right. Even though she didn't win as many awards as Meryl Streep,
Yeah,
she holds her own.
yeah,
And I think at this point, people want to watch Helen Mirren more than Meryl Streep. I think. Wait, when's the last time Meryl Streep was in a movie? Oh,
she,
Into the
she,
Woods.
yeah, Into the
Yeah.
Woods, pretty big hit. All right, should we move on to next week's films?
Yeah, let's move on to openings. It's
Okay.
this week's films. the
So,
new
so we
new
have two,
openings this week.
right?
We have two. We have Aloha and we have San Andreas.
Let's start with San Andreas, 'cause since we were talking about The Rock.
The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
This is interesting because it seems like this is completely what's his name? This is another one of those natural disaster movies that what's the director of IT4?
Emmerich.
Yeah, Roland Emmerich. He also did that. What was it? What's the natural disaster movie that he did? It's like The End of Tomorrow, or not Edge of Tomorrow, but
Oh, the day after tomorrow.
yeah, The Day After Tomorrow. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it's kind of sure it's about earthquakes, but it's kind of like when you watch it, it's kind of like The Day After Tomorrow, where you got like tornadoes and huge, waves and a ship being pushed to shore by the wave, and then you have buildings and mass amounts of destruction. And the only difference is you have for the first time in one of these disaster movies, you have an action star like Dwayne The Rock Johnson to carry it. Now the thing is, do you need him in one of these movies? Is what I'm wondering.
Oh, if he can bring in the bucks, yes. So
Right.
far, I mean, Dwayne The Rock Johnson has, his movies have been doing pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, he adds like 20 million to your budget,
Yeah.
but he could potentially bring in more, right? That's
Yeah.
why they cast like these big stars in this movie. And
Right.
I think there was another movie by
Mhm.
New Line about tornadoes.
Mhm.
I forget the name. But it was pretty much like a special effects movie that takes place in the Midwest, and I guess that one didn't do well. Into the storm.
Okay. Okay. Into the Storm. Okay. Yeah. Was that a big budget one?
Oh, budget's
I,
around 50. It says.
that's not one of those like super big budget ones.
Mhm, mhm.
I guess it's only time that they make one based on earthquakes.
Right. I mean, for a time, I think in the 90s or so, disaster
Yeah.
movies was like all the rage. With
Yeah, because
tornado,
of
asteroids,
yeah.
what climate change in the day after tomorrow, and others.
Yeah. I think Twister started it all because after Twister they made the volcano ones. So yeah, disaster movies they're always cranking one out now.
Oh, right. I mean, disaster movie is pretty much the same thing as these monster movies, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like
Once in
Godzilla.
a while, yeah, once in a while you put one out and they always do well.
Right, right.
So
Okay,
how well would this one do?
okay. So let's get back to San Andreas or San
Mhm.
Andreas or whatever it is. Starring The Rock, and he is what he plays a what does he play? I don't know. He somehow ends up playing piloting a helicopter.
I think
And-
he's one of the yeah, he's one of those rescuers or
Right, right, and then I think he's trying to get back to his daughter who lives, in Northern California or something like that.
yeah. And then he and his wife had issues, right?
I'm
That they
pretty
had to
sure.
work out. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Even if it's not his wife, it's the female member who has issues
Right.
or something like that.
Right.
Okay. All right, San Andreas, starring The Rock, PG-13, big action disaster movie. Think it's gonna do well. How well? It's anyone's guess, I guess, but we can do that. We can try to predict.
What number are you putting in at?
Let's go with 40. I know.
40.
Yeah. Ultron, Age of Ultron is in theaters. What the recent one, Tomorrowland, looks like it's a bomb. So its competition is pretty much Mad Max Fury Road, Age of Ultron, Fear 7, but this one's new.
Yeah, this one's new. Yeah, 40 million sounds about right. I wonder if The Rock still has that kind of draw. Like, I mean, when you put him in, those supporting roles, he improves those films' box office. So it's interesting to see how he does in a standalone movie where he's the top draw. He has top billing.
Well, he plays a supporting role to the special effects.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, but anyway, yeah. I think if it opens to 40 million, it's considered. I think that's pretty good. So yeah, I'm with you. 40 million. Should we move on to Aloha? New film by Cameron Crowe with Bradley Cooper and Emma Stone
and Rachel McAdams.
Yeah, wow.
Yes. And Bill Murray.
Yeah, and John Krasinski from
and Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, from The Office. Yeah.
right? And Danny McBride. So it's
Yeah.
a Cameron Crowe film, pretty much a typical Cameron Crowe film. These actors love working for him.
Hmm.
So that's why you see all these big names in the movie. And
And it's a romantic comedy.
it's a romantic comedy, as all pretty much Cameron Crowe films are.
Yeah, right. This is another good counter programming, for the summer. You have romantic comedy, in between all these big action movies. Although Cameron Crowe hasn't have a hit in a while, right?
Well, the thing is, like, his movies are more critical darlings and actors' vehicles than anything.
Mm.
So, besides a couple of blips like Jerry Maguire, Vanilla Sky, and stuff like that, it's more like more vehicles for actors to act in. They love working for him. They take pay cuts for him.
Mm-hmm.
But the box office wise, it's not that great. His movies.
He's kind of on and off. Like he'll have Almost Famous, which made 32 million at the box office, but is considered a great film. Did he win some awards? Maybe.
I think it did. But yeah,
Okay.
like I say, it's more for the
Yeah, but then
prestige.
yeah, but
He's
then
more the
he'll
prestige
yeah
director.
yeah, but then he'll also have like Jerry Maguire, which with Tom Cruise made like over 100 million.
Yeah, that's Tom Cruise.
Yeah, and then he'll have Vanilla Sky.
Also with Tom
Elizabeth.
Cruise.
Yeah, and then there's like Elizabeth Town, which only made like 27 million, and then We Bought a Zoo made 76 million.
That's what Matt Damon.
Yeah, with Matt Damon. So basically, if you put a big name star in one of his films, they tend to do well. So, which is kind of obvious, right?
Right.
And Bradley Cooper is a big name star now, and so is Emma Stone and Rachel McAdams. So,
well, not Rachel McAdams, but
yeah, she's kind of she used to be.
Okay, yeah.
So what number are you putting it at?
You know what? This movie doesn't look that great. Looks like a made for TV movie. The only reason to watch really is for the stars.
And it looks kind of generic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So
So is the title.
Yes. My brain is saying that it's gonna make about what 10 to 15 range. But with the stars, I don't know. So I'm just going with 10 to 15.
I'm with you there. My brain's telling me 10 to 15 too, but then you have Bradley Cooper, who made American Sniper, and Emma Stone is still a decent draw at the box office, and Rachel McAdams as a co-star isn't too bad. So
true, but I like to point out a counterpoint is the movie Serena.
Yeah, that's true.
Another Bradley movie that has Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah,
Bradley Cooper,
and they didn't even want to release that movie.
Right,
they probably do it out there because of contractual obligations.
Right, it was released. I don't know when, but it only made like 176K.
Right. So Bradley Cooper and romance movies. Be careful. Okay, yeah, 10 to 15 weeks. I guess.
Yeah, we both had Aloha at around 10 to 15 million range. Could make more if it did, probably because of the stars, but
yeah, we'll see if it follows Cameron Crowe's track record. You put a big star in one of his movies, it'll make 75 to 100 million.
That's true, but I don't consider like Bradley Cooper a big star right now. He's just there. But he hasn't really cracked it yet. I think all his other big hits, besides American Sniper, right? Is more like ensemble cast,
right,
or whatever.
Yeah, he has been doing pretty well in the in the more indie films. Like American Sniper is with Clint Eastwood is kind of considered one of those award movies that went for awards, and the other one was the other one he did with Jennifer Lawrence.
Serena?
No, not Serena. The one before that one.
Oh, that the dancing movie. The Silver Lining Playbook.
Yeah, Silver Lining Playbook. Yeah. So when he does one of those award season movies made for the award season, they tend to do well.
Mm-hmm.
But Aloha, even though it's written and directed by Cameron Crowe, doesn't seem like one of those award movies.
Yeah, it's kind of like Woody Allen. Like people love to work for him or want to be in one of his movie at one point in their career.
Uh-huh.
It's the same thing with Cameron Crowe. That's why all these stars are in his movie because they want to work with him and say, "Hey, I worked with Cameron Crowe." Or it's just like I worked with Woody Allen. Because those
Right.
people, their movies are considered classics years later on,
Mhm.
right? So I guess in the hope of that Aloha will turn into one.
Yeah, we'll see. Although both of us are thinking no. It just seems so generic, right?
Yeah, it does, but
The title, the trailer.
yeah, and the trailer is just really not that great in a way. I mean, I'm sure there are some moments,
Mhm.
right? And you know what Cameron Crowe's films, right? There's going to be a good soundtrack,
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
you know.
True.
So we'll see. And maybe, like I say, it's probably going to be well reviewed, but who knows, right? I mean, people might be, it's like sometimes people worn out their welcome. They can't
Yeah.
keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Right. So we'll see next week.
All right, we'll come back and see.
Yeah, and then hopefully Box Office Mojo will be back.
Oh, they will. Since this is a Memorial Day weekend, like big outfits, they don't need to work. They can just take the day off.
Yeah.
Unlike us, we're still
Yeah.
working on Memorial Day.
Yeah.
You know.
Although, Box Office Mojo in the past have updated, so I'm kind of surprised.
Hey, new editor, right? Like you say, still
Okay.
learning the ropes.
Okay. Yeah.
All
All
right,
right.
we will come back next week and see.
Okay. See you guys next week. Have a great Memorial weekend. Or actually, what's left of it.
Yes, and there is the game 4 of the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors game on tonight. Is it tonight?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tonight.
All right, so a must watch.
Yeah, although at 3-0, Houston Rockets getting destroyed at home during the last game.
Which was fun,
Yeah,
depending on your team, right?
yeah. We'll see if they can pull another miracle, the Houston Rockets.
Right.
Doesn't
Okay.
look like it.
Right. We should talk more basketball, but that's
Yeah,
be a later date. Okay.
yeah. All right. See you guys next week.
All right.